Phosphorus is an important element used in biochemical reactions of the living organisms, mostly in the form of phosphates. The primary energy metabolism in the living organisms generates ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, which is used in all the energy requiring biochemical processes inside the cell. In the double helix structure of DNA, phosphate ester bridges bind the helix. As structural components, phospholipids are part of cell membrane. In animals, phosphates strengthen skeletal structures like bones and teeth enamel. Phosphorus is a macronutrient along with carbon, nitrogen and oxygen, and organisms cannot grow and reproduce without phosphorus. In natural ecosystems, phosphorus is often the limiting growth factor because other macronutrients are readily available in nature. Phosphorus is largely unavailable because it is locked up in sedimentary rock, and on the surface of the earth the soluble form of phosphate the plants can take up is limited. Organic phosphate comes to the soil through the plant and animal wastes and dead tissues. Soil microorganisms degrade organic phosphate and convert them to soluble inorganic forms. Plants absorb the soluble phosphate in the soil through their roots. Phosphate in the inorganic form is primarily present as calcium phosphate in the mineral apatite on the earth crust. This phosphate is leached into the soil by organic acids in a slow process. In agricultural fields, soil is enriched with phosphate by the use of manures and chemical fertilizers. The slow natural cycle of phosphorus has been enhanced by the use of fertilizers in agriculture. Let us see in detail about phosphorus cycle. The movement of phosphorus through the rocks on the earth's crust to the rivers and ocean, and its absorption and conversion to organic phosphorus constitutes the biogeochemical cycle of phosphorus. In the ranges of temperature and pressure found on earth, phosphorus based compounds remain as solids, and phosphorus is not present in the atmosphere in any significant amount. The gaseous form of phosphorus, which is called phosphine, occurs only in specialized local conditions. The most likely source of phosphine is decaying organic matter. Phosphorus occurs most abundantly in nature as part of the orthophosphate ion. Most of the phosphorus is found in rocks and minerals on the land. Phosphate containing minerals are grouped as apatites. These are mostly hydroxylapatite, fluoroapatite and chloroapatite with high concentrations of hydroxyl, fluorine and chlorine ions respectively in the crystal ion. The phosphorus is released from apatite rocks during the slow process of weathering. The release of phosphorus from apatite dissolution is a key control on ecosystem productivity. Inorganic phosphorus associated with aluminum, iron and calcium are released by the action of organic acids exuded to the soil by the plant roots and microbes. The organic acids form organometal complexes with various metal ions which lead to the release of inorganic phosphorus. Among the organic acids, gluconic acid is the most frequently used acid for mineral phosphate solubilization. This is the principal acid produced by Pseudomonas species, Erwinia herbicola, Pseudomonas cepacia and Burkholderia cepacia. The other major organic acid produced is ketogluconic acid. This is produced by Rhizobium leguminosarum, Rhizobium meliloti and Bacillus firmus. Some other bacteria like Bacillus liquiniformis and Bacillus amyloliquefaciens produce mixture of lactic, isovaleric, isobutyric and acetic acids. Other organic acids such as glycolic, oxalic, malonic and succinic acid have also been identified among phosphate solubilizers. Other phosphate solubilizing bacteria in the soil are Achromobacter, Agrobacterium, Micrococcus and Flavobacterium. There are considerable population of phosphate solubilizing bacteria in soil and in plant rhizosphere. They are higher in concentration in the rhizosphere in comparison with non-rhizosphere soil. Available phosphorus is found in a biogeochemical cycle in the upper soil profile. Phosphorus found in lower depth is primarily involved in geochemical reactions with secondary minerals. By the process of weathering and erosion, phosphates enter rivers and streams that transport them to the ocean. Phosphorus accumulates on continental shelves in the form of insoluble deposits in the ocean. After millions of years, the coastal plates rise from the sea floor and expose the phosphates on land, and the geochemical cycle begins again. Generally, with time, that is after thousands of years, soils become deficient in phosphorus, leading to ecosystem retrogression. Phosphorus is an essential nutrient for both plants and animals, besides its role in bioenergetics and metabolism. In plants, phosphorus is essential from the beginning of seedling growth to the formation of grain and maturity for the general health and vigor of the plant. Phosphorus deficiency produces certain visual symptoms in plants. In corn, the plant becomes dark bluish green in color, with leaves and stem becoming purplish. Under deficiency, phosphorus may be translocated from old plant tissue to young actively growing areas. As the plant matures, phosphorus is translocated into fruiting areas of the plant where high energy requirements are needed for the formation of fruits and seeds. In animals, phosphorus plays a major role as a constituent of bones and teeth. The strength of bones and teeth is derived from calcium phosphate in the form of hydroxylapatite. Phosphorus also functions as buffering agent in maintaining acid-base homeostasis in the human body. Phosphorus constitutes about 22% of the mineral ash in an animal body. Severe deficiency of phosphorus causes skeletal problems in animals. In insects, phosphorus is part of exoskeleton. Plant, animal and human wastes enrich the soil with organic phosphorus. Urine contributes more than half the phosphorus found in urban wastewater flows. Organophosphorus compounds are also commercially produced for application as plasticizers, flame retardants, pesticides, etc. Plant growth depends on the rapid uptake of phosphorus released from dead organic matter in the soil by the roots. The enzymes phosphatases, nucleases and phytase are involved in the degradation of organic phosphorus. Soil microorganisms convert the organic bound phosphorus to the soluble inorganic phosphate, and in the manure phosphorus is an important constituent. A phosphatase is an enzyme that removes a phosphate group from its substrate by hydrolyzing phosphoric acid monoesters into phosphate ion and a molecule with a free hydroxyl group. Alkaline phosphatase is a common phosphatase found in many organisms. Another common phosphatase is DNA RNA phosphatase that decomposes dNTP or NTP to dNDP or NDP and a free phosphate ion. Pyrophosphatases decomposes dNTP or NTP to dNMP or NMP and a free pyrophosphate ion. Protein phosphatases remove phosphate from amino acid residues of proteins. Phytic acid, that is myoinositol hexoxide phosphate, is an indigestible organic form of phosphorus that is found in grains and oil seeds. A phytase is any type of phosphatase enzyme that catalyzes the hydrolysis of phytic acid and releases a usable form of inorganic phosphorus. Phytases are produced by the bacteria found in the gut of ruminant animals like cattle and sheep. Because of this, the ruminant animals can use phytic acid found in grains as a source of phosphorus. The enzyme phytase is used as an animal feed supplement, often in poultry and swine, to enhance the nutritive value of the feed by liberation of inorganic phosphate from phytic acid. In contrast, phosphorylases and kinases attach phosphate groups to their substrates. Phosphorylases catalyze the addition of a phosphate group from an inorganic phosphate to an acceptor. Glycogen phosphorylase breaks up glycogen into glucose subunits, adding a phosphate group. Kinases transfer a phosphate group from a donor, usually ATP, to an acceptor. Creatine kinase catalyzes the reaction creatine plus ATP, giving creatine phosphate and ADP. Natural phosphorus cycle is greatly influenced by mining phosphorus and converting it to fertilizers. Most of the phosphorus chemically released from the minerals is used for the production of agricultural fertilizers. Because most of the natural phosphate bearing compounds is insoluble and inaccessible to plants, and the natural cycle of phosphorus is very slow, there is a great global demand for phosphate fertilizers. Almost 80% of the mined phosphorus is used in the production of fertilizers. In producing these fertilizers, phosphate minerals are first converted to phosphoric acid by treatment with sulfuric acid. Fertilizer industry is the primary industrial market for sulfuric acid in the global economy. Phosphoric acid is then neutralized with a base to produce phosphate salts. Since phosphorus is necessary nutrient for all crop plants and the soil is generally deficient in available phosphorus, artificial phosphate fertilization is extensively practiced. Fast mining of phosphorus and shipping it across the globe in the form of phosphate fertilizers has greatly influenced the natural phosphorus cycle. Surface and subsurface runoff and erosion from high phosphorus soil like from agricultural fields containing high amount of phosphate fertilizers contribute to freshwater eutrophication. Crops often cannot absorb all of the fertilizers in the soil. Plants have a limit as to how fast they can take up phosphate, and also soil has a saturation point with respect to how much phosphate it can hold. Due to this, excess fertilizers run off and increase the phosphorus level in the streams and rivers. Since aquatic systems have very low phosphate concentrations, whenever phosphate enters the water, phytoplankton like algae quickly consume it. Natural eutrophication is a process by which lakes gradually age. Anthropogenic eutrophication is water pollution caused by excessive accumulation of plant nutrients like phosphorus. This results in excessive growth of algal population in fresh water, and the algae forms a mat on the surface of water. This mat blocks out light for other plants and organisms living below the surface. This reduces the ability of the plants growing in the bottom to photosynthesize, reducing the amount of oxygen released to water. When the alga dies, it reaches the bottom and is decomposed by bacteria. Decomposition process uses a large amount of dissolved oxygen. In other words, it will enhance the BOD or biological oxygen demand of water. As dissolved oxygen is depleted, fish and other organisms also die. Phosphate also stimulates growth of water plants, favoring weedy species over others. Excess growth of these plants also consumes dissolved oxygen, resulting in the death of fish and other aquatic animals. Excess growth of plants also blocks available sunlight to the species that live in the bottom. Besides fertilizers, urban wastes like sewage water and detergents also carry phosphates and pollute the lakes and streams. The tropical rainforests are primarily supported through the natural recycling of nutrients like phosphorus. When the forest is cut or burned, nutrients originally stored in plants and rocks are quickly washed away by heavy rains. This drains the phosphorus to the water streams, making the land unproductive. According to US Geological Survey, about 50% of the global phosphorus reserves are in the Arab nations. Large deposits of apatite are also located in China, Russia, Morocco, Florida, Idaho, Utah, Tennessee and elsewhere. At the present rate of mining and consumption, The supply of phosphorus is estimated to run out in the next 345 years. About 20 million tons of phosphorus is estimated to leach from land to ocean per year. This phosphorus returns to land by uplifting of marine sediments, which is a geologically intermittent process. Deposition of guano, that is excrement of seafowl and other marine birds, brings phosphorus continuously to the land. Birds feed on oceanic fishes and deposit their excreta on land, producing high concentrations of phosphate. Historically, people collected guano from small islands off the desert coast of Peru for use as manure. Guano has high content of nitrogen, phosphate and potassium. Bird guano contains 11 to 16% nitrogen, 8 to 12% phosphoric acid and 2 to 3% potash, which are all essential nutrients for plant growth. The important guano producing species are guano cormorant, Peruvian pelican and Peruvian booby. Guano is also produced by cave dwelling bats and pinnipeds, that is animals like seals and walrus. A large amount of phosphates is also returned to land by sea fishing. However, the rate of loss of phosphates to ocean is much greater than its rate of return to land. Most of the supply of phosphorus in ecosystems is due to rapid turnover of phosphorus from the organic reservoirs. Phosphorus is a macronutrient essential to all living organisms, but it is often a limiting factor in ecosystems. The natural geochemical cycle of phosphorus is a slow process. Natural phosphorus cycle is greatly influenced by mining phosphorus and converting it to fertilizers.